Oh man, the Giants have become the comeback kids.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Happy Saturday, and welcome to a bonus episode of Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as my lower third denotes, call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a while now, and I am now doing my sixth full season here as the host of the Locked On MLB podcast. And I'm also the host of the Locked On A's podcast, which is putting on at least 5 episodes a week. There's going to be a new Locked On A's going on Sunday, as the A's just held on to beat the Houston Astros 3-1. It's Miller time. We're not going to talk much about the Astros-A's game in this episode. We're going to talk about the other team for the Bay Area, plus a team up north that is falling apart, and another team that is pretty far to the north that should probably do something really, really quickly. And by the way, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're leaving any notes on our social media, may I recommend to put that hashtag Everyday Sully. It helps us figure out who the heck is actually listening to us every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on, and then you, too, can get started. Hey, before we get on this bonus Saturday edition, and we are doing a live stream for anyone who's, make sure if you're on the live stream, put something in the comment section if you want me to, if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask me. Let's go over the trivia question. Nobody got it because I want to move on to something else. The question was, what Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher was the first Diamondbacks pitcher to hit 2 home runs in a single game? I got a bunch of Brandon Webbs. I got a bunch of Zach Greinke's. The answer is Micah Owens. Micah Owings on a game in 2007, the year that Bob Melvin took a team that had a negative run differential to the National League Championship Series. He was the first Diamondbacks pitcher to hit 2 homers in the same game. I'm moving on because I got a trivia question I want to throw out there today. Holy Toledo, the San Francisco Giants are playing the Cardiac Kids. My late father would have been, who was the biggest Giants fan you'll ever meet, would probably have become my late father if he was watching these games. He's no longer with us, and I'm kind of glad this last week because this may have been too much for him. This is almost too much for anybody. Today, the Mets played the Giants, and this wasn't exactly a slugfest, but it was a little bit of a back and forth game. And Alonso Marte. Alonso was the night before. Marte put the Mets on top. So the Mets go into the 9th inning with a 2-1 lead, and Diaz on the mound. And Diaz has been not good. He has not been doing the job as a closer. And I think the Mets should take a good long look at whether or not they want to keep putting him out there in 9th inning situations, because since coming back from his massive injury last year, he has not been an effective closer or not been a consistent closer. But either way, Flores singled, and then Lamont Wade Jr., not senior, not the old man, but to paraphrase Jimmy Pardo, but Lamont Wade Jr. drove in Flores with a single. Now, for reasons I don't understand, he tested Starling Marte's arm. He already had a bad hamstring, and he was thrown out at second base. Fine. But the game was tied. So once again, the Giants put together a rally late. They wiggled out of a jam in the 9th inning when they got Lindor and Pete Alonso out. And then it was Wisely Brett Wisely put the Giants ahead with a single in extra innings, and then Mike Yastrzemski cleared the bases with a triple, and suddenly the Giants, who were losing, remember, they were losing 2-1 in the ninth inning, and they won 7-2. That's what they've been doing. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but the last bunch of games, the Giants have gone on absolutely wild late inning rallies that completely turn the tide on what looked like lost games. Last night, the Mets and the Giants played. It was 6-2. 6-2 Mets going into the eighth inning. That's a pretty strong lead, right? Right? Reed Garrett let up a couple of singles. Estrada got a double. Suddenly it was 6-3. Bases loaded. Chapman walked, had in the bases loaded, 2 outs. Patrick Bailey at the plate. Still Mets up 6-3 at this one point. Boom. Patrick Bailey hits a grand slam to give them the lead. Yastrzemski homered in the ninth to make it an 8-6 lead. And then the bananas ninth inning. Absolutely bananas ninth inning. The Mets rallied. Lindor drove in a run. And then the bases were loaded. They intentionally walked Nimmo. Then up comes J.D. Martinez, okay? Where at this point, a base hit would have won the game for the Mets. And Julio David Martinez is at the plate. I think you're going to walk anyone to face J.D. Martinez? He strikes out. Then Vientos comes up, and he hits a little dribbler to third base. A really, really tough play. And it was a bang-bang play at first, and he's called out. Now, the replay showed that was the correct call. But it was one of those, if the throw was a tiny bit late, the game would have been tied. Instead, it was right on the money. The Giants win. When it was just a bone-crushing loss for the Mets. But that was a wonderful comeback for San Francisco. What did they do the day before that? The day before that, they're trailing Pittsburgh big time. Big time. They're losing, it's 6-2 going into the eighth inning, and it doesn't even seem that close. So the Giants just look dead from the neck up. Reynolds hits a home run for the Pirates, but then it's 6-2 going into the eighth. Chapman homers. Boom. It's 6-5. Then Wilmer Flores gets the RBI single, and then Wisely again gets the big base hit to put them ahead. Rogers holds them out. That's a wild come-from-behind win in Pittsburgh. Oh, but what happened the day before that? The day before that, the San Francisco Giants were in Pittsburgh still, and the Pirates ran up a 5-0 lead. 5-bagel. And who was on but by the way, the game that they came back from behind the other day was a spoiled Paul Skeens start. But they're up 5-bagel, and in the fifth inning, and the Giants chip away, and then they chip away, and eventually Lamont Wade ties the game in the ninth, and then in the 10th, they unload with a 4-run 10th inning. And so that's 4 straight games. 4 straight games where the San Francisco Giants were losing late in the game, and in most of those games by a significant amount. And they came back to win every single time. And for the first time in a while, the Giants have climbed above 500 in this wild 4-game winning streak. They've won 8 of their last 10. And guess what day after tomorrow is? Day after tomorrow is Memorial Day. The 1/3 mark of the season. My unofficial first checkpoint of the year. And as of this recording, the Giants have climbed above 500 and would be one of the 3 wildcard teams. Now, of course, there's nearly 2/3 of the season ahead of it. But as I've stated before, this is the first time you do a checkpoint on a season. It's going to be in 2 days. And the Giants are winning all these games that they had no business winning. But also, The other point I've been making over and over again, to the point where I may embroider it on a pillow. The National League wild card race. We talked about this with Miller Thomas just the other day. The National League wild card race is going to be there's going to be about maybe as many as 7 teams within 2 or 3 games of each other. And at this point, it's difficult to tell which ones. But I guarantee you, when we get to the end of the year, there's going to be 3 or 4 teams battling for one wild card spot, maybe 2, but certainly one wild card spot. And 1 or 2 games are going to separate them. And so when you keep that in mind, and the Giants are piling up wins of games they have no business winning, those are games they don't have to win later in the year. Folks, I may be a broken record, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. And these are very important wins for the Giants as they approach the first checkpoint of the season and showing, okay, we have the pieces. We know they can pitch. And you're starting to see some of those bats wake up. And maybe, just maybe, if Blake Snell can come back the second half of the year and maybe not be a Cy Young Award winner, but be a decent pitcher, that'll give him some quality pitching depth. What I'm saying is the Giants are taking advantage and winning games they're not supposed to win. And with that, that is the recipe for putting together a potential run at a wild card spot. We come back, we're going to talk about a team that's doing everything in their power to hand a playoff spot to other teams. And quite frankly, if they don't make a change immediately, it could spell disaster. All right, let's hear a little bit from our friends over at, where is it? This is when you do it live. You sometimes don't say, it's our friends over at Ibotta. And you know what? It is time when I'm doing some spring cleaning right now, but also I'm getting ready to wrap up my school year, and I need to stock up on things to clean up, to store things, and to make my house look nice. Now, that means if you got to stock up on those cleaning supplies or whatever, you got to make sure you're using Ibotta, and you can get real cash back with every purchase. I need all sorts of cleaning stuff. I need rags. I need paper towels. I need wipes. I need I'm not going to say any brand, but, glass cleaners and whatnot. I'm going to pick up all that, especially for my classroom, and I'm going to use Ibotta. It's going to be good for me. I almost sang a Tina Turner song right there. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from grocery to beauty products to cleaning supplies. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. Now, I'm a public school teacher. If I had an extra $256 a year to spend on my class to do things, do you know what? That's a pretty good bargain right there. Other apps give you points. What do they amount to? They don't amount to piddly-poo. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you can get real cash. You can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including all your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Ooh, Best Buy. I got to go to Best Buy. I got to get something new. Someone said I needed a new microphone. Maybe I'll buy it at Best Buy. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play, I don't judge, and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or the Apple Store or the App Store. And use the code LOCKEDONMLB. Now let's hear from our friends over at SupplyHouse, because let me tell you something about SupplyHouse. They are the place if you need to get supplies for those of you who do skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to get you the stuff you need to get the job done right. Shop with complete inventory over 100,000 parts from over 400 top brands when you get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping coast to coast. You need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. And guess what? You talk to a real person every time. Pros of the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Hey, where is your hub for getting the best news, sports stories, and takes? You need to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on the YouTube and on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Blue Jays again. And I will remind you, I'm wrong a lot. I've not been wrong about this. I thought they were going to change managers after the collapse in the 2022 playoffs because John Schneider was essentially an interim manager who was only there because, well, they got rid of Montoyo. They played well under him, and some of the players who played under Schneider in the minor leagues were now on the team. Fine. They gave him another shot. 2023, they make the playoffs, but once again, they wet the bed in the playoffs, and disastrous managerial decisions were made, whether they're from up high or down low, too slow. And I thought, okay, well, clearly they're going to get another manager now. Nope. And I said in the middle of April, they got to make a change to the manager right now. And a couple of you said it's way too early to make that call, of which I pointed out, no, I've been making this call for literally years now. So it's not too early. Well, what has happened since then? Have you noticed what's happened since mid-April when I said, you know what, maybe the Blue Jays should make a change? They went on a mild winning streak at one point, and then let's just take from late April on. Let's say from April 21st on. How are the Blue Jays been doing? Have they been good? Have they been really good? Well, I can tell you, they're 11-18. They have played 29 games and lost 18 of them, including today. Today they lost to, who did they lose to again? They lost to Detroit. They are now 23-28. And not only that, but whenever you see any article written now about what teams are going to be selling at the deadline, you're starting to see the Blue Jays. And I brought this point up before, that they're going to give up on the Vladimir Guerrero era. They're going to give up on Bo Bichette. They're going to give up on this team. Put two sticks of dynamite and blow them up. Now, in some cases, that's the smart thing to do when you know you're not going anywhere. But my God, that they're going to give up and not even take a stab at bringing in a new manager to give it a shot? You have the talent that's there. You have pitchers who are talented. You've got batters who are talented. And you're keeping this guy as the manager for the sole reason that he was the minor league manager of some of these players and could motivate them. Well, it's not working. Now, I'm going to point something out. The manager of the year of the National League of 2020, 2021, and 2022. I'm not talking about going way back. I'm talking about people who have won the manager of the year in the National League this decade, which isn't even halfway done. 3 of them, you can go, hey, you want to manage the team? I'm not talking about people who had success, during the days of John McGraw. I'm talking about post-COVID. Buck Showalter, did he suddenly become an idiot? He was the manager of the year. You have to go all the way back to 2022. He's not working right now. Gabe Kapler. Now, I was never the biggest Gabe Kapler fan as a manager. He did win the manager of the year with a Giants team that won 107 games and has experience as a manager. Hi, Gabe, you want to come? Don Mattingly. Again, never been his biggest fan as a manager, going back to his days with the Dodgers. They did make the playoffs under him, and he was manager of the year in 2020. They can go, hey, Don. Oh, wait, they don't even have to do that. Do you know why? He's sitting on the freaking bench. He's on the payroll. He's the bench coach. You won't even have to print out a new uniform. Why wouldn't you give him a chance? And then, of course, I mean, there's so many people out there who can manage. Obviously, I'm always going to bring up Bruce Bochy's lieutenants. I can't be Frankenstein and sew together a better managerial candidate from different pieces of other managerial candidates that's better than Hensley Mullins, who for some reason has the same number of major league games as a manager as me. I think Roberto Kelly, another Bruce Bochy lieutenant, is an obvious managerial candidate. But then you have other people who have had managerial experiences. Haven't we seen over the last few years that giving some veteran managers a shot has kind of sort of worked? Worked with Dusty Baker, worked with Bruce Bochy. Did Joe Girardi become an idiot? Did Joe Madden become an idiot? Rick Renteria was let go because the White Sox organization panicked and brought in Tony La Russa for a reason I don't understand. Miguel Cairo showed he could manage. And why not, Freddie Gonzalez, who had it up and down, but, when he managed the Marlins and the Braves, but, he has managerial experience. Maybe give him a shot. I don't understand. There are people, Mattingly is the obvious one. Again, he's not my favorite managerial candidate in the world, but they just have to say, Don, you give it a shot before you blow it up. Maybe the team can respond. They weren't responding to Charlie Montoyo, and Schneider came in. They did well under him. It's not working this year to the point they're going to start trading them away. But we've seen teams who have been worse and further down the standings than this year's Blue Jays team has been and has had bigger injuries and bigger holes go on to great success. My God, just take a look at the 2021 Braves, who lost their entire outfield and had a losing record. And there were some people, and if I go back, maybe I was one of them, was saying maybe they should sell at the deadline because they still had a losing record until late July and early August. How did they do? They won the freaking World Series. And they were in a much worse situation than this Blue Jays team is. How do you blow this team up and at least not try? Again, my father always called Don Mattingly an idiot when he was the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But do you know what? Sometimes you need to give people another shot because maybe they learn from those mistakes. And sometimes having that been there, done that manager is the right thing. Sometimes it's going to be a disaster like it was with Tony La Russa. Although at least with La Russa, they went to the playoffs one year, the White Sox. But it could be a success like Bochy, like Baker. Why not? Everywhere Buck Showalter goes, they go to the playoffs. How could it be worse than this? How could it be worse than trading away Vlad Guerrero Jr.? They're really giving up on that? And they're not even going to give it a shot? Someone, somewhere, explain it to me. Explain it to me like I'm 5. But I'm telling you something. If the Blue Jays do go out and trade, I know the team that they have to talk to. All right, we're going to talk about our friends over at FanDuel because this is the single best time of the year to be a sports fan. It's just magical. You see the NBA playoffs are on right now, and the Mavericks are doing stuff we didn't think they were going to do. You're seeing the Stanley Cup final or the Stanley Cup conference finals are going on right now. A big Rangers win. We're going to see is Edmonton going to get in? Is it going to be Dallas? Are we going to have Dallas and Dallas both in the Stanley Cup and NBA final? I don't know. It's a good time to be a Dallas fan at a time when you're the Rangers are the defending World Series champs. That just hit me. Well, guess what? If you're going to be making any bets, FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, do what it is? It is America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, just one quick reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channel app. Hey, we got a comment coming on. Hey, Beto says, what's up, Sully? I'll tell you what's up. The probability that the Mariners are going to make a deal. Mariners are one game above 500. They're 27-26. They lost another game today where their bats were dead. They got decent pitching, but they lost 3-1 to a Nationals team that isn't very good. The Nats are 23-27. And guess what? They beat the Mariners. And the Mariners are struggling and are a mere one game above 500. So naturally, that puts them at the top of the standings. With a division that has the Astros, the Rangers, and the defending World Series champion Rangers, we're going to be entering, Memorial Day is day after tomorrow. And the Mariners are 27-26. Congratulations, you're chipping away at your magic number at this point. Part of the reason of that is that the Rangers are bizarre right now. The defending World Series champs are 24-29. They lost today to Minnesota, a team that is either unstoppable or can't win, but they're on a good run right now. And the A's and the Astros, the A's wound up winning today. As I said, it was Miller time. Sears pitched well. And the Astros are 23-29. They're 6 games under 500. And this is like they're the only team above 500, and they're only one game above it. They are underachieving and chipping away at their magic number. And it's as plain as the nose on any one of our faces what the issue is. The issue is they've made a whole bunch of deals, and a lot of the deals were there to try to bring in a veteran who they're hoping would have one big last gasp. And Polanco hasn't worked so far. Haniger hasn't worked so far. Garver hasn't worked so far. Julio Rodriguez hasn't had any protection in the lineup. And so, Crawford hasn't hit. Dylan Moore hasn't hit. Cal Raleigh has some homers, but he's been, subpar. They need a bat. At this point, any bat right now will mean a lot, because a mediocre bat in the middle of that lineup could mean the difference between a one-run game. Now, think about the games we just rattled off at the beginning of the show about San Francisco, where they're winning all these games left and right, where they, they go on these rallies. Not a Cal rally, but, all these other rallies. Just imagine if the Mariners pick a game up here, there, game here or there, that could be the difference. Because right now, as an everyday Sully listener named Adam Scott Bristol just pointed out, every team in the American League West has a negative run differential. It's fascinating how shift restrictions have not impacted BABIP and offense around baseball, how it has shifted, but that right now, the Mariners just have to trade for any bat. Any bat. I mean, whether it's Luis Robert Jr. with the White Sox, or just a major league hitter. It doesn't have to be a superstar, because a mediocre hitter in the middle of that lineup is going to be an improvement. And maybe they should be the ones calling up the Blue Jays if they're panicking. But right now, it's so obvious the difference between maybe winning the West or not winning the West for Seattle is we need bats. We need bats. So go make those calls. But don't be desperate about your need for bats. And I'll tell you why. It's going to lead us to our trivia question. In the mid-1990s, the Seattle Mariners needed a bat, and they coveted Dave Holland's former Philadelphia Philly, and at the time, a slugger for the Minnesota Twins. What minor leaguer did the Seattle Mariners give up to acquire Dave Hollins? That's the trivia question. Put it right down there on the YouTubes, and also follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. It's Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Giving you a bonus because it's been a fun Saturday so far. This has been Locked On MLB. We're going to be approaching Memorial Day, which is the first big checkpoint. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.